everybody, this is Con. I'm in the second generation Ford S-Max, and before we get on with the video, quick confession, the S-Max is quite simply my favorite MPV, and so right from the offset I'm going to declare this is going to be a bit of a biased review, and I will explain why lah. Okay, now this goes back all the way to thereabouts of 2009 or 2010. Okay, that time Ford had just brought in the Mondeo. Okay, and I still remember one particular afternoon, I read a review of the Mondeo written by my friend Danny Tan from potan.org, and this guy was saying, wow, the Mondeo was how good, and all that. So immediately my curiosity got piqued, and I gave Ford a call and arranged for a test drive. So then I took the Mondeo for a drive, and I was absolutely, and this was the Mondeo 2.3 Duratec, the one that, you know, was a bit underpowered. Okay, I took the Mondeo for a drive, but I was absolutely blown away by its dynamics. Okay, I mean, the car drove and handled so well. In fact, I remember titling my story of the Mondeo at that time as saying that it was driven by telepathy, because the car handled so well that, right, all I had to do, it was almost as if I thought where I was going to turn, I pointed my steering, and pop, there the car went. Okay, and I remember that version of the Mondeo did not have electronic stability control, and yet it never showed. The chassis was so well set up that it was never in any danger of losing control, despite being driven quite exuberantly. I took it to Bukit Tinggi at the time, and you know, it is still one of my more memorable drives. You know, 10 plus years in this. About 10 years in this business. Okay, so then later on, Ford brought in the Mondeo EcoBoost, the 203 PS Mondeo EcoBoost, and along with it, the S-Max as well. Then later they upgraded it to a 240 PS Mondeo and S-Max lah. So of course I took the Mondeo out again, drove the car, loved the car. Then I took the S-Max, and I was thinking, and I was once again blown away, because there we have it. Okay, now we know the Mondeo is a very, very good handling car, fantastic handling, fantastic dynamics. The S-Max offers the same kind of handling and dynamics, but with the practicality of 7 seats. Okay, 5 plus 2 seats, right? So the third row is not exactly what you would call spacious. It's probably good enough for children, but the fact of the matter is, you actually can have, okay, a family MPV that drives like a sports car. So now on to the second generation S-Max. This car was launched in Malaysia in 2016, and at this point in time available only in one variant, 2.0 EcoBoost, 240 PS, priced at 235,000 ringgit on the road without insurance. Yes, so it is not exactly cheap for the amount of space on offer. So when you buy an S-Max, you really are paying for the driving experience first, and the cargo and the carrying capacity second, right? So without further ado, let's adjourn outside for the walk-around tour of this car. Now, to those of you who know the previous generation S-Max, this should be a very familiar looking silhouette. Ford has kept the car going with a very evolutionary look. Understandable, because even though the S-Max is not a successful product in Malaysia, it is very well received in Europe, because the buyers in that region, they appreciate what this car has to offer, which is it blends the practicality of a 7-seater with excellent high-speed dynamics. Okay, so this silhouette is very familiar, especially the window line. The window line really, it really resembles that of the predecessor, even though this platform is all new, but such is the styling direction, right? It gives you the impression that it is just a facelift of the predecessor, but it's not. This is a heavily redesigned from the previous model. Okay, now coming to the front, I was not a very big fan of the previous gen S-Max's frontal look. I like the way the car drives, but I didn't quite like how it looks. Okay, this front end is a more agreeable front end in my opinion. It is at the same time, you know, a bit more conventional, yet a bit more sporty, and it still has very, very good road presence. Okay, as you can see, this large gaping grille, this is the current Ford family look. Okay, and a major change, the fog lights, the front fog lights, which were previously placed here, somewhere around here, has been moved to a more conventional position. The headlights also are now encased in a slimmer unit, very high spec headlights. You get LED daytime running lights, LED signal lamps. Okay, so the daytime running lights and the signal lamps share the same LED strips. Okay, they just illuminate in different colors. So when you activate your signal lights, the signal lights actually illuminate out in a sequence. Okay, it just moves out in a sequence, so it's like it has a bit of an animation effect lah. The headlight main beam is LED illuminated. Okay, and it has swivel function, so it gives you better illumination around corners. Okay, now you come to the side. Now this van's fake one, no need to see. And the wheels are very conservatively sized, 17-inch. They look a bit small, admittedly, but as I stated in my CX-5 video, smaller rims is a good thing when it comes to running costs, because tire replacement will be cheaper, you get better fuel economy, you also enjoy better comfort. Bigger rims add wear and tear to your wheel bearings, right? So okay, so coming to the back, can see these taillights have a very, like the predecessor, they have that slim look. I like this illumination signature. Okay, this is very cool. So it's like a 3-claw design that wraps around the car. Very, very nice. The model plate here, printed across this horizontal strip, is just like the predecessor model. Okay, coming down, you have these diffuser elements and this trapezoidal tailpipe, but that's not the real tailpipe. The real tailpipe is a circular unit inside. Okay, but at least you see two trapezoidal tips. There are two tailpipes out here lah. So it's not entirely fake. There is no reverse camera, and that is something that, in my opinion, at this price point, not entirely acceptable, because as much as this car has sporting appeal, right, this is a car designed for family buyers. Okay, it is an MPV. A potential buyer looking at an S-Max is likely to have children running around at his or her home. Okay, and I would imagine, okay, now speaking as a parent myself, I would imagine many of these buyers, they would appreciate having a reverse camera in their car. Not because they do not know how to reverse their car, okay, but when you have a toddler, that's probably this tall, right? You never know when that toddler could be standing behind your car and when you're reversing. Other features such as the LED headlights, the massage seats, although I love the massage seats, or the electric seat adjustment, and a number of other things in this car, I would have happily traded them off in exchange for the reverse camera. Right, so let's get inside. Okay, before we get in, let's look at the door pockets. So this is a semi-partition door pocket. As you can see here, this projection comes out that partitions this side off to put your bottle, and here this back part of the door pocket extends all the way back to the edge of the door. Okay, speaker here. Now here, as you can see, there is a drawer here that slides down. Okay, so it is supposed to be thereabouts the size of a smart tag. Okay, so you can drop your smart tag here or your parking cards here. Okay, so here you can see this is the rotary type headlight switch. Let's give you another view of the interior first. Okay, so you get leather seats, and come inside. So let's explore further the storage compartments available. We will start from the top. Okay, so here sunglass holder. Okay, this is a very nifty mirror. So if you can see here, this mirror actually allows you to see what's happening at the back seats. So for parents, this little concave mirror here allows you to monitor your kids and see what mischief those monkeys are doing at the back seat lah. Okay, so these are the interior light switches and all that. And okay, so this is a useful storage compartment. I'll just throw my phone in there just for you to illustrate its size. Okay, so this you can like select some papers or whatever small items that you fancy lah. Okay, start the engine first. Now, this is down here. This is also an impressively deep storage area. Okay, you have a 12-volt socket, SD card reader, aux jack in, and 2 USB ports. Again, using my phone to demonstrate, it is a very deep area, so it's perhaps designed for you to drop your phone or iPod in here so that you can connect it straight to the USB ports here. Okay, and coming to the back, now you see Ford did not do a thorough conversion between left and right hand drive. You see the parking brake switch is on the passenger side. Okay, this is clearly designed for left hand drive markets in mind. When they switch the S-Max to right hand drive, they did not bother to flip this. Okay, in fact, as you can see, this whole center stack is symmetrical. Okay, so whether you are left hand drive or right hand drive, this entire center console remains the same. It does not need to be altered. Only these moldings on top needs to be flipped. This center section don't have to. Okay, now the cup holders, okay, these cup holders are impressively deep. Check this out. Okay, so at normal depth it is about this tall. Okay, about this tall, but you can remove these, and I shall insert my fist inside just to illustrate its depth. Okay, so it is this deep. Okay, this deep. Just slid this back in. Okay, now for the back center console box, this is 2-layered. So depending on which side of this you open, okay, you can either open the entire box up, open the other side, you leave this tray down here. Okay, so if you open this one up, you notice that this is deep. Okay, I can really put my hand down and I'm down to my elbows. Okay, inside this is lighted. Okay, and there's a 12-volt socket in there as well. Okay, so it is deep. You can drop huge items inside there, no problem. Okay, and let's look at the glove box. Car service booklet here. So yeah, so this is the glove box, decently sized, nothing spectacular. So let's look at the touchscreen system. I quite like this 4-quadrant arrangement of the touchscreen. Okay, so this is the climate control quadrant. This is the this is the entertainment quadrant, your Bluetooth phone, and also your navigation. Of course, this car does not have GPS navigation, but amazingly, right, it actually has a GPS sensor in there that tells you what are your GPS coordinates at this point in time. Okay, it also has a built-in compass. So here you can access the massage functions that's available for both the driver and front passenger. Okay, these massage chairs, in my opinion, right, these are one of perhaps among the best in-car massage chairs I've personally experienced. Okay, what do you do notice that this touchscreen is quite susceptible to fudging by your fingers, so have a microfiber cloth in handy if you're particular about your car's appearance. Okay, so let's look at the instrument clusters. So this is a virtual instrument cluster. The tachometer and speedometer dials labeling is, is printed there. It's it's physically printed there. But everything else is a giant LCD screen, and the control of it is quite intuitive. So this pad on the this pad on the right of the steering controls the middle screen. Okay, so you can access either, you can set to display your phone, compass, or your radio. Okay, so I set it to compass lah. Okay, then this pad on the left controls the trip computer side, the left side. So I can adjust between various trip computers. I can check various functions. So this is the fuel economy, fuel reading, driver assistance systems, and all that. It is in my opinion very intuitive to use. Two pads control each side of the screen. This car also has lane keeping assist. Okay, another thing before I forget, another nicely cleverly hidden storage compartment here. This hidden compartment at the back, this is presumably inspired by previous generation Volvo cars that were developed under Ford's watch, so you can store away some of your mobile devices under here as well. Right, so let's go to the back seat. Okay, let's come inside. So once again, let's survey the door pocket first. This is a thin but lengthy door pocket. So this part allows you to slot a small drink can here, but this one all is full length but good enough to slip paper inside. Okay, so come inside. Seat back pocket here, seat back pocket here. Rear aircon blowers here. The previous Gen S-Max had it on the bay pillars. Here is another small storage compartment. It's only this small. I'm not sure what you can stick inside. Maybe this in overseas market, perhaps this is the control. This slot would have been taken by the control panel for rear zone climate control that's not offered in our market. Okay, so 12-volt socket here. These seats, okay, feature forward-backward adjustment, so I can adjust this seat as far front, as far back lah. So this is the furthest back seat when you're not using the back row. Okay, this is how far back you can set the seats, and you really have a fairly decent amount of leg room. Okay, yeah, but how about your thigh support? Pretty decent, but bear in mind these seats are individually foldable, so they do not have much in the way of contouring lah. So I would say they have individual headrests, that's good, but over long distance traveling, the front passengers very, very comfortably accommodated, but the back and middle row passengers, I think they may need a few stops, because these aren't exactly supportive type of seats. So let's see what happens when I pull the seats furthest forward. So it's still pretty decent. Okay, I still have less but usable leg room lah. Okay, so when I come to the middle row, I pull the seats furthest forward lah. I'm going to have the blowers blowing directly at my crotch. It is a bit of a compromise. So immediately we can see that even without going to the back row, okay, we can quickly see that the S-Max is perhaps best used as a 5-seater as opposed to a 7. So let me get down again, okay, and from this camera I will show you the difference. This is the kind of legroom you have with the seat adjusted furthest forward. That is how much you have with the seat furthest back. So adjust the seats all the way back. Yep, it is pretty, you get pretty decent amount of space. Okay, now coming back in. So these seats also have recline adjustment. So this is the furthest I can recline, furthest angle that I can recline. Right. So all passengers also have 3-point seat belts. The middle row passenger, okay, you have to pull this seat down, strap it down here, okay, and then you buckle it like a normal 3-point belt. So Unbuckle, and down here release this one as well. Done. So it stows away neatly at the roof. Okay, now coming back. So as you can see, these three individual seats can be folded forward. Okay, there are two ways to fold the seats. Okay, you can either pull this lever, this topples the seat down, or if you're looking to get into the back row, you pull this forward. Okay, that gives you access to the third row, which obviously can't use now because these seats are too far back. Now let me get in. So here at the back, okay, there's only room for two, and as you can see, you can't say I'm short on leg room, but definitely not much in the way of thigh support lah. Okay, so I can fit in this much inside under my thighs. Okay, so definitely this is not the place to be in for a long distance trip of any meaningful distance. Yeah, but definitely if you want to give any measure of comfort for the rear passengers, you have to push these seats quite far forward. Okay, and yeah, I don't recommend any human being larger than 12-year-old child to be put here for a long distance trip. But hey, you do get cup holders, you get a cup holder, so that's good. So getting out is a relatively straightforward affair. Just pull this up and off I go. Alright, so let's look at the boot. So when you have all seats up, this is all the boot space that you have. Okay, this is a hidden compartment, so you can stow things away in here. But yeah, but this is a it does not have a stand mechanism that holds it to stand. Okay, while you put your things down. So when you lift this up, it just drops back. Okay, at the side here, you notice there's this hook, teh tarik hook, as my friend Chips here will call it. 12-volt socket. So these rows of switches operate the remote lowering of the seats. So you press this to drop the third row, okay, the back row, and this one drops the middle row. So all the seats fold down neatly, and I quite like this. Okay, you fold it down neatly to form a nice flat loading floor. Okay, I remember a couple of years ago when I was shifting houses, this S-Max really came in handy. You know, when I was doing my IKEA shopping and all that, because the seats all fold down nicely to give this very flat floor that allows you to transport bulky items fairly securely. Okay, and here's one missed opportunity. Okay, a sudden discovery. So for rear passengers, this is another compartment to stow away small items. To raise the seats back, it's done the manual way. The back row seats, you raise them by pulling this this strap. Okay, let me lower them again. The middle row seats, you have to go back here lah. Okay, just have to raise it from here, here. So it's manual, but it's relatively easy and painless. If this can be held up as in a 90-degree angle, it would serve as a very useful partition of the luggage compartment. So the luggage compartment here has a tonneau cover provided, which you install on these two slots. Okay, so here's the tonneau cover. Not exactly a straightforward installation. Yeah, Yeah, but it's solidly fitted. And so to pull it out, you just slot it into here, and it comes out. It's a decent tonneau cover, but my only complaint is that there isn't a space provided to store this tonneau cover away when it's not in use. Okay, but otherwise it's good. So the first generation S-Max was quite a revelation with regards to its driving experience. Whether you took the 203 PS version or the later 240 PS version, you are assured of a 7-seater MPV that drove pretty much as well as a hot hatch. Okay, so this one, the current model, sits on a heavily redeveloped platform, but it carries over the predecessor's engine, so outputs the same 240 PS. In place of the predecessor's 6-speed dual clutch transmission, Ford now gives the S-Max with a torque converter gearbox with the same number of gears. Okay, the same transmission is also featured in the Mondeo, the Kuga, as well as the Focus. Previously, the Mondeo and Focus, as you remember, also had dual clutch transmissions, but Ford seems to have abandoned the whole dual clutch thing and now is moving back towards torque converter gearboxes. In my opinion, it is a good move. Okay, simply because that modern torque converter gearboxes have come to be reliable, durable, and they shift fast enough. The performance gap between a torque converter gearbox and a clutch-based gearbox, whether is it a manual or a dual clutch transmission, to me at this point in time is no longer significant, right? Where road-going passenger cars are concerned. So switching from dual clutch transmissions to a torque converter, I say good move. So what do we get here? So compared to the predecessor model, this one, the new S-Max gets improved low-speed refinement. Okay, because torque converters by nature are more refined than dual clutch transmissions, especially at low speeds. Okay, they are smoother. Okay, they do not have the jerking sensations that dual clutch transmissions tend to exude at low speeds. But the trade-off, of course, is that the torque converter gearbox seems a bit more hesitant with its kickdowns. So when you floor the throttle, there is a noticeable delay from the time that you step on it to the time that actual acceleration is delivered. Now, it does not help that this car runs a turbocharged engine. So when you factor in turbo lag into the equation, there will be that even greater sense of delay. So if you're looking for instantaneous response to acceleration, you don't get it here. In fact, even for normal highway cruising, I actually found myself needing to pull the transmission into sport mode just to get that bit more immediacy in the transmission and throttle response. But once it gets going, this car can be quite fast. In fact, it is a bit too ridiculously fast for an MPV, and it is therefore a good thing that the Ford chassis engineers really did their homework with the suspension tuning of this car. Because bear in mind, this is a 7-seater, okay, with the outputs, with the performance of a BMW 330i. It has more outputs than a Volkswagen Golf GTI. Just think about that for a moment. Okay, so with that kind of performance on tap, right, it is a good thing that Ford's chassis engineers really know their stuff. Okay, because we have seen from the previous Gen S-Max, right, these guys really know how to make an MPV handle. And if you were to compare the first gen model to this one, okay, the new S-Max, the current S-Max rather, it is a more refined car, it is a more comfortable car, it is not as outright sporty as the predecessor model. Okay, the previous model, if you were to jump from this one to the predecessor model, the previous model will feel more agile, it will feel more lively, The steering also will feel richer in feedback. Okay, but that is the kind of progression that every cars in the market seems to make. As you know, as manufacturers seem to add more and more things into the car, they rob that little, organic feel that cars of yesteryear used to have. But you take all that aside, right? One thing is not in dispute is that the S-Max remains the best handling MPV out there, bar none. But now I hear some of you asking me, what for do you need an MPV to handle well? Now here is why. Okay, your MPVs are bought mostly for family use. That is something that most of us will agree upon, and chances are you did not buy an MPV to drive it like a sports car, right? But when you are driving your family, okay, let's say like on a highway, you would want your MPV to have that dynamic foundation, the dynamic fundamentals, okay, that well set up dynamic fundamentals that enable it, that give it that assurance, that feeling of assurance when an emergency happens in your path, when a stray cat or stray dog or stray car veers in your way, you know that your MPV has that inherent stability in it to give you that confidence to avoid that obstacle that suddenly appear in your way whilst keeping your family safe and sound. Okay, so this being an MPV, a family carrier, the bigger question is, how does it do ride comfort? And the answer is that it does pretty well. Okay, now the suspension, right, in my opinion, this suspension is a pure work of art. Okay, these days, right, many cars, right, because you have electronic dampers and all that, now they have this means of shortcutting their suspension setup, and they just allow you to choose yourself between, comfort, sport, and whatnot. The Ford S-Max, okay, shows that it is still possible to set up your car with one suspension tune to deliver for all occasions. It is one of the few cars in the market, okay, that has a passive suspension that does handling well and does comfort well. And it feels very natural, it feels very organic. Okay, when you go over a bump, a pothole, a manhole cover, whatever lah, on the surface, you feel what's going on down there, but the car absorbs enough of the surface imperfections that you only feel its presence, but not the discomfort of it. Okay, so you feel the surface, you breathe the surface underneath, but you don't get jolted by it. To be sure, the S-Max is not a car without flaws, but not much of its flaws are in the driving department. Okay, if we are to really nitpick, the driving experience, right, we can say that perhaps a diesel engine is a better idea. EcoBoost petrol engine, yes, it's powerful, but it is also very, very thirsty. So for an MPV at this size, even though this car has near hot hatch-like dynamics, but you do not really need it to rev like a hot hatch. Okay, which is what, for me, an MPV this size, an SUV this size, diesel engines make much better sense. That's one. Okay, now one unpleasant thing that I do have to report, okay, is that this test car has an unexplained squeak somewhere coming from the B pillars, and it is not an isolated thing, because I experienced the same squeaking in my previous S-Max test car when I reviewed it during my car list days. So it is unlikely to be something isolated. I've raised this issue with the people at Ford. They have acknowledged it, but they seem to have yet to find a solution or even a cause to the problem. They have assured me with the previous test car, they actually took the trims apart and examined it and found nothing loose in there. So I just take their word for it lah. It may be nothing, okay? It is. I would think it is something minor, but it is annoying if you've just spent 200,000 on a car that produces squeaks and rattles. The S-Max at 240,000 is not cheap. Okay, it is Mercedes C200 money. But that being said, your alternatives, Honda Odyssey, Recon Alphard Wellfire, all these are also at that kind of price point, and none of them offer the same kind of this unique, utterly unique proposition of being an MPV, but offering you the driving dynamics that closely matches that of a hot hatch. The closest comparable alternative to this car perhaps is the BMW 2 Series Grand Tourer, but that is no longer on sale the last time I checked BMW Malaysia's official website. So at present, the S-Max really is a one-of-a-kind proposition in the market. It is admittedly a very niche proposition lah, okay? But if you are in this unique position where you're a family man, okay, you have the budget for one car, the S-Max offers a very unique proposition indeed. If you are a family buyer with a family bigger than 5 people, okay, where you know the regular sedan or hatchback no longer cuts it, you need that seating capacity for more than 5 people, but at the same time you want a car that offers an entertaining driving experience. This is your car.